With this pattern we'll be working in continuous rounds, which means that we're going to be going around and around in a spiral like this, and there'll be no joining at the ends of rounds. So for the materials required, you'll need a red heart with love yarn, and I'm using the Cornsilk colour, and this is a medium worsted weight yarn category 4. I'm using a 5.5mm hook, which is an eye. You'll also need some craft scissors, a yarn needle, a stitch marker, and 2 buttons, preferably with large holes, because you'll be using this yarn to sew through those holes with. To get started, we'll make a slip knot. And using our 5.5mm hook or eye, we'll insert it into the slip knot and just tighten that up a little bit. Then we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we're going to join into the first chain stitch that we made. We're going to be forming a ring. And we just make a slip knot. So now we've got our ring. You can see it there. And now we'll be working over this tail end. So for round 1 we'll do 8 single crochet into the center of this ring. So with the first one, so into the center of the ring, and make sure you're working over this tail end. Do a single crochet, and we're going to place our marker into that first single crochet stitch we just made. Now we'll do 7 more single crochet into the ring, working over the tail. That's 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. So that's the end of round 1. And the reason why we've worked over the tail is later on it just makes it easier for you to pull the center tight like that. Okay, so for round 2 we'll take our marker out. And we're going to do 2 single crochet into each stitch around. we'll just do this first one here and then place our marker back in so we know where our start is. And then we'll do our second single crochet into that stitch. Moving into the next stitch, we'll do 2 single crochet stitches as well. There's 1, 2. Moving on to the next stitch, we'll do 2 single crochet into that stitch as well. 1, 2, and you're going to repeat this right around until you get to this stitch before the marker, and at the end of round 2 you'll have 16 stitches, and I'll see you at the end. Now I'm at the end of round 2, and for round 3 we'll take out this marker and we'll do 1 single crochet into that stitch and place the marker back in. And then we'll do 2 single crochet into the next stitch here. There's 1, and 2 into that same stitch. So this will be our sequence right around for this round. So 1 single crochet into the next stitch, 2 single crochet into the next stitch, so 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and 1, 2 single crochet into the next stitch. So repeat that sequence right around until you get to the stitch just before the marker, and at the end of round 3 you should have 24 stitches. I'm at the end of round 3 and I've made my last 2 stitches in the stitch just before the marker, and for round 4 we'll take out the marker and we'll do a single crochet into that first stitch there and place our marker back in. And into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, and into the next stitch we'll be doing 2 single crochet stitches. So 1, 2. So this will be our sequence for this round. So 1 single crochet into the next stitch, 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 single crochet stitches into the next stitch. So repeat this sequence right around until you get to the end, and at the end of round 4 you'll have 32 stitches. I'm at the end of round 4 and I've made my last 2 stitches into the last stitch just before the stitch marker. So for round 5 we'll take out the marker and do a single crochet stitch into that stitch where the marker was, and then we're going to place the marker back in. So I've done 1 single crochet there, into the next one we'll do a single crochet, and into the next one a single crochet. So we've done 3 single crochet stitches, and into the next stitch we'll do 2 single crochet stitches. So there's one, and into the same stitch do a second single crochet, and that'll be our sequence for this round. So 1 single crochet into the next stitch, 1 single crochet into the next stitch, 1 single crochet into the next stitch, so that's 3, and then into the next stitch we'll do 2 single crochet stitches. So there's 1, 2. So you're going to repeat that, so 1 single crochet stitch into each of the next 3 stitches, and then 2 single crochet into the next stitch, and repeat that right around until you get to this last stitch before the marker, and at the end of round 5 you'll have 40 stitches. I'm at the end of round 5 and I've just done my last 2 single crochet stitches in the last stitch before the stitch marker, and for round 6 we'll take out the stitch marker. We'll be doing 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So there's our first one, and we'll place our marker back into that one to mark our first stitch. So there's 1 single crochet, there's 2 into the next stitch, 3 into the next stitch, 4, and now into the next stitch we'll do 2 single crochet stitches. So 1, and the second one into that same stitch, and that'll be our sequence for right around for this round. So 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, and then 2 single crochet into the next stitch, and you repeat that sequence right around up until the stitch just before the marker, and at the end of this round you should have 48 stitches. I'm at the end of round 6 and I've made my last 2 stitches in the last stitch just before the stitch marker, and for round 7 we'll be doing 1 single crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. So we'll do our first one, then we'll place our marker back into that first single crochet. So there's 1 into the next stitch, 2 into the next stitch, do our third single crochet into the next stitch, our fourth single crochet into the next stitch, fifth single crochet, and into the next stitch we'll do 2 single crochet stitches. So there's our first one, and do a second one into that same stitch, and that will be our sequence for this round. So 1 single crochet into each of the next 5 stitches, and then 2 single crochet stitches into the next stitch, and repeat that right around until you get to the end here. At the end of this round you should have 56 stitches. I'm at the end of round 7 and I've made my last 2 single crochet stitches there just before the marker. And for round 8, I'll take out the marker and make a single crochet into that stitch where we've just taken the marker out. And then we're going to place the marker back in. And for round 8, this is very easy round, we're just going to do 1 single crochet into each stitch around to the end. So 1 single crochet into each stitch and you'll just continue doing this right around to the end. So work 1 single crochet into each stitch until you get to this stitch just before the marker, and you'll still have 56 stitches at the end of this round. Okay, so I'm at the end of round 8 and I've made my last single crochet stitch into the stitch just before the marker here, and we've pretty much finished the top, and now we'll be working on the sides. But before we do that, I just want to tighten the center ring here. So just give that a slight pull, and then with your yarn needle, you're just going to weave that in and around those stitches there. And just pull that tight, and then you can just skip a loop here and then take it back around this way. And then you can trim that off, and that's your center done. So now that we'll be working on the sides, you'll only be working with 56 stitches from here on in. So for rounds 9 to 23, you're going to be doing 1 single crochet into each stitch around. So take your marker out, and just do a single crochet in the first stitch there. Place your marker back in. So just remember to do that at the start of each round. Always place your marker back into the first stitch that you make on each round. So this is round 9. So just doing 1 single crochet into each stitch around, which is the same as what you did on round 8. So this is what you'll be doing for rounds 9 to 23. So I'm going to let you continue on with these rounds, and I'll meet you at the end of round 23. So I'm at the end of round 23, and I've made my last single crochet stitch there just before the marker, and this is what our work will be looking like now. So we're almost done. So we're up to round 24, which is the edging and the small front brim, and we'll still be working with 56 stitches. So we'll take out the marker and we'll be doing one slip stitch into each of the next 18 stitches. So we'll do our first slip stitch here, and then we're just going to place the marker back into that slip stitch we just made there. So we're doing 18 slip stitches, so there's the first one. Our second one. There's 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. See how that's making the edge. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. 16. 17. 18. So there's our 18 slip stitches. And now we're going to do one single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So there's one single crochet into the next stitch, and into the next stitch a single crochet also. And now we'll do one double crochet into each of the next 16 stitches. So a double crochet into the next 16 stitches. There's 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13, 14, 15, and 16 double crochet stitches. Now we're going to do one single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So one single crochet into the next stitch and one single crochet into the next stitch. And now we'll do one slip stitch into each of the next 18 stitches around, and that'll bring us right around to this stitch here just before the marker. So slip stitch into each stitch. And slip stitch into each stitch right up to the last stitch just before the marker. So continue on making your slip stitches along here into each stitch, and I'll see you here. So I'm at the end of round 24, and this is where I've made my last slip stitch in the stitch just next to where the marker is. So now we're ready to finish off. So just leave enough tail to weave into the work, and you can cut the yarn now and finish off like that. Just give that a pull. You can take your marker out now, we won't be needing that. Now with your yarn needle, you're going to thread this end through your needle, and if you have a look at the next slip stitch, or the first slip stitch that you made here, here's the knot where you finished, and here's the first slip stitch. So just put the needle in the middle of that slip stitch and draw it through. And that's going to bring that knot down. And then just weave the needle down, and then turn it, and we're going to run it through this row of, or the back of these stitches on this row. And you can go along there a bit further with your yarn tail if you like. And then when you've done that, you can come back this other way, or just skip a loop there, and then run it back through the back of the stitches, and once again you can keep going as far as you like just to secure it. And I always like to hold that there because it just seems to keep the yarn in place and doesn't pull the project out of shape when you're trying to weave the entail in. And then just cut as close as you can there. And that's that part done. So as you can see, this is the brim, the front. I've got the edging. And now we're ready to make the band. So this is the front band that I'll be showing you how to make. So with the same yarn and the same size hook, we'll be doing a slip knot. And then we'll chain 19. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And for round 1, we'll start with 1 single crochet into the second chain from the hook. So just going to get a bit closer there for you. So there's 1, 2, so that's the second chain from the hook. So a single crochet into that chain, and then we'll do 1 single crochet into each of the next 16 stitches or chain stitches. 1 single crochet into each of the next 16 chain stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 single crochet. Now we're up to the last chain stitch here, and we're going to do 3 single crochet stitches into this last chain stitch. Now for the first single crochet we do, we're just going to wrap the tail over the hook like that. Just hold it there. So we're going to do the single crochet over that tail, just for the first one. So now you can leave that at the back there. Now we do 2 more single crochet stitches into this last chain stitch. So there's 2 and 3 single crochet. Now you can see that we're flipping over onto the other side, and we're going to be working into these free loops or unused loops, which are the bottom of these stitches here, which are 2 loops each. We'll be crocheting over them. We'll also be crocheting over this tail as we come along here. Okay, so now we'll be doing 1 single crochet into each of the next 16 unused loops. So here is our first one. So if I put my hook in there, you'll be able to see there's 2 loops there, and see that hole there? That's where you want to go into. And at the same time, we are going to have that tail come over the hook and then do our single crochet. So there's our first one. The second one, so go in under those 2 loops, those 2 unused loops there, have the tail over your hook and do a single crochet. And there's 2. So we'll continue to do that right along here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and as you can see I'm running out of tail, so that's alright, you can just leave that there and cut that off later. So we're going to continue on until we've crocheted into 16 of these unused loops. Okay, so we're up to the last one here. This is the unused loops here, the last one, and we're going to do 2 single crochet stitches into that last unused loops. So 1, 2. Now you'll see your first single crochet stitch here. And you know it's the first one because you'll see there's the V on the top there. You can see the 2 strands there. And you're just going to join with a slip stitch into that first single crochet. And then we're going to finish off and with that little tail that is at the back there, just going to trim that. And you'll just weave that end into the back of your work there, or you can actually use that end to sew one of the buttons onto this side when you go to sew the band onto the front. So it's up to you. Okay, so now I'll show you how to attach this band to the front. So attaching the band and the buttons to the front of the cap, you'll just find that first single crochet stitch you made there, and we're going to place the band not on this row, not on the next row, but on this row and in line with that single crochet stitch there. Remember, we made 2 single crochet stitches and then all the double crochet stitches. So getting your band with one end and lining it up there. See, I'm skipping that row round, skipping that round, and I'm going to secure it in on this end, and I'm using the tail that I didn't weave in. I'm just going to pop it back up there, which is around about where I want to put my button. And then you get one of your buttons, push it down, and just make sure that you've got it right on the end there, and then take your needle down the other side of the button. And you can come back up again and go back down through the button, but I like it just as once through. And then you can tie a knot, or weave the needle in there, and then tie a knot, and then just weave the yarn tail through the work as usual. And skip a loop and weave it back through. And basically that's exactly what you're going to do for the other side of the band and the button, and then your project will be complete. So just look for those 2 single crochet stitches you made there, and you're skipping this round and the next round and attaching it there, and then you'll end up with your cap.